Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and this is your community to support you through the little and not so little events that make up your day-to-day life. From the I've got this moments to the I just can't moments. We are here to empower all women to find and develop the skills they need to find peace, balance, and the bliss in their busy. Through solo episodes as well as interviews with amazing women who share their journey and their story and how it works for you. I hope you find the inspirations to make you laugh, think, as well as maybe rethink what you thought you knew, and connect as we realize that we are all living similar ups and downs and don't have to do it alone. So excited for you to hear this episode, and thanks so much for joining me today. Hi, this is Daniela with Bestie Life, the podcast, and today I'm so excited for you to meet Kaitlin Cuevas. She teaches women how to decrease their stress and unproductive time while keeping their cup filled. You will get to see when she and I chatted pre-podcast, I felt like, oh my God, I was reconnecting with an old friend. We have so many similarities. Her dog is named Guppy, which is the elf on the shelf name my kids had for theirs. I like just funny little things. She is also the host of the Think Happy podcast, and she really believes that happiness is something you can create for yourself and that you really are in the driver's seat of your own life. So she is a mom to James and Eleanor. She is a wife to Oakley, dog mom to Guppy, and she really helps you struggle with juggling all the things and create those sustainable systems, which I know you've heard me talk about as well, to really simplify your life and allow you to fill that time with things for yourself to kind of recharge and re-energize. So thank you so much, Kaitlin, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited about this. I really am.
I know. I mean, I think, like I said, I love when you can get together with somebody who is literally in sync and on the same page in so many ways. You know, we could almost just complete each other's thoughts and sentences probably.
Yes.
I would love for you to share with my listeners, like, where did your story begin? Because obviously, you know, that's the part where I think we differentiate is we all have our own stories. We all have our own journey to get to where we are now. And I would love for you to share yours.
Yeah. So truthfully, my story started with, so some of the things that I coach on now, well, all of the things that I coach on now that my business is built around are just things that I found myself being naturally good at. Mm-hmm. And then people started asking me, you know, like, hey, Kaitlin, how are you doing that? Can you help me? And I think that being married with just this desire to become an entrepreneur kind of was, you know, the match made in heaven for starting Think Happy. And so back in 2020, I published my book called Think Happy, and essentially that just outlines my take on stepping into the driver's seat of your own life, how to become very intentional about living your life and creating happiness in your own life. I think that's a very proactive thing that we all get to do if it's something that we want. Through that, fast forward a couple of years, I've niched down a little bit more, which is where a lot of our similarities come in. I now focus heavily on time and task management and building sustainable habits and routines, all while keeping your cup filled. So I think that those really are the root and the foundation of creating happiness in your life. I think that if you have good time and task management, then you're able to have routines that support you keeping your own cup filled, which I think is the key.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you break it down to the steps, because I think when people talk about happiness, they think of those moments they see on social media. They think of things, they think of those big, broad events where it really comes from the details. It comes from the nitty gritty of how you're setting up your day, how you're setting up your time. And that intention that you put into it is then what eventually leads to the happiness of, like you said, filling your own cup, having that free time, having those fun moments that create the memory. But I think if you focus only on the end result, it's not going to kind of get you where you want to be, because you're kind of trying to work from the end instead of starting a little bit deeper.
Exactly. And to kind of piggyback off of what you said, I think a really helpful exercise when you are trying to, create that life for yourself, I do think it is a great practice to take time to get very specific and clear on what it is you are wanting to accomplish. But then if we call that point Z, taking it all the way back to point A and starting to build really from the ground up. So you can't start building from your point Z, but if you have that in mind, if you have that vision, and if you're using that to guide you as, you build step by step along the way, that's how you'll get there.
Yep. And it is a practice. It is a journey. Like you said, you don't start at point Z. It is a process to go from A to Z. And there are definitely times along the way where you might even backtrack to step, you might be at F and all of a sudden you're back at C, or
yes,
vice versa.
Yes. I like to use the analogy. I'm huge on analogies. Your listeners will either roll their eyes at me or have fun. Okay, so it sounds like they'll have fun with this. So I like to say that taking steps backwards is kind of like backstitching. So when you're sewing something and you're sewing forward, but then you backstitch and then you go forward again, what that backstitch does is it makes the stitch tighter. It makes it stronger. And so when we are progressing from, point A to B to C to D, and then we fall back and we find ourselves back at point B, that's just a backstitch. And it's making everything else a little bit stronger.
Absolutely. And those systems, they help for those unexpected moments, and definitely in different seasons, I think, which is something a lot of women talk about, is we have different definitions of what we're looking for to make us happy. We have different systems that we're able to put in place because of the different seasons we're in, our kids are in, our family dynamic is in. And so I'm sure you've had to kind of adjust and adapt as well.
Oh, yeah. Perfect example. So before we started recording today, just for the listeners, we were chit-chatting, how's your day? And I had an unexpected day where my childcare fell through and I was momming today, but I had a day full of work also planned. But thankfully, I have a couple of systems in place that helped that not feel as big. I don't want to say as big of a bummer because I'm their mom, it's my responsibility, but as big of a step back as it could have. And, I already had my to-do list made for the day. I knew exactly what it was I wanted to accomplish. I had some of my priorities identified, which, when your workday essentially gets down from 8 hours to nap times, having those priorities identified is pretty critical because you really got to make the most out of that nap. So yeah, systems in place, 100%. I'm a systems girl.
Yeah. And so let's dive into some of that. I know for me personally, my morning routine, my nighttime routine, the way I fit it in throughout my day is a huge part of my system on how this works for me and how I kind of refill myself throughout my entire day. What are some of the key pieces of your system that are non-negotiables?
Yeah. So like you, mornings and evenings are a huge part for me. I believe that mornings and evenings work hand in hand, it's cyclical. The circle chart that's two arrows, one points at each other and it goes around in a circle. That's how I view mornings and evenings, because the way you end your day is ultimately going to set you up for how you're going to start the next day, which sets you up, for how that day is going to go and how you're going to end the next day. So really, setting my day up for success starts the night before. So that's going to look like making sure I'm in bed in time to get 8 hours. I can't play around with my sleep. I wish I could. I cannot. I'm an 8 hours minimum type of girl. Don't get me wrong. I can do a lot worse. You mamas out there with babies as young as mine know that that's not always realistic. But I set myself up to get the sleep that I need. 9 times out of 10, in the evening, I am looking at tomorrow's calendar. I am making my to-do list for tomorrow. And yeah, I like to end the day with my gratitude journal. It sits right next to my bed. It's really simple. It takes me about 30 seconds. I write down 3 things from the day that I'm grateful for. Sometimes those things are really deep and meaningful, like when Eleanor ran into my arms at the end of the school day. Sometimes they are like, I'm thankful for my pajamas and my bed. And so just three things I'm grateful for. So that's what my evenings look like. It's really nothing fancy. It's nothing shiny and, you know, but it works. My mornings right now, I like to view my mornings, and bear with me as I try to explain this. I like to look at them for or on a week's basis. So there's certain things that I want to make sure I get done, but because of my current schedule and because of my kids, I can't do it all every morning. So some of the things that inside of a week I want to make sure I'm doing are quiet coffee is what I call it. And a lot of times that's paired with spending time with my devotional and my journal. Something else is I want to make sure that I'm getting in exercise. And so that's probably going to be about 3 days a week. And then, or right now, exercising in the morning is about 3 days a week, and quiet coffee time is about 2 mornings. And then on the weekends, it just
takes a life
what it is. What it is. Yeah. So I don't know if that answered your question. I kind of feel like I started rambling a bit, but
no, absolutely. And I love the simplicity of it. Like, that's the whole point, is it's not complicated. It's easy to do. If it was hard and there was 14 steps to it, it's probably going to be harder to do on a regular basis. But when you keep it simple, you can keep that consistency. And I always find that consistency is so important, almost more so than how long you're doing it, but that you're just doing it regularly.
Oh gosh, I could not agree more. Something that I actually just, it was either last week or the week before, I sent an email out to my email list about 2 words that I feel like I say all the time when it comes to routines, and they are sustainability and attainability. And I feel like the routines that you set yourself up for must be attainable if you want to sustain them. So I think that just fits in beautifully with what you just said.
Yeah. So when you're helping women, when you're working with clients, what would be kind of the first place that somebody would start with you if they're listening to this episode and trying to think, what would this look like for me? What would be something you would tell them?
Yeah. So there's there's 2 main points that I'm going to hit on with this question. The first that I start with almost every single client that I get the opportunity to work with, no matter what it is specifically that we're working on, is getting really clear on the why behind their what. The why they want to accomplish whatever routine, whatever habit, whatever time management strategies, why is it? And just getting very clear on that, because I truly believe that when like the newness and the excitement and the adrenaline wears off from starting anything new, which, you are always going to have a little bit of a honeymoon period. And then that honeymoon period is going to wear off. I think that you need to be clear on that why to help you push through, when the shininess wears off. That's like what's coming to my mind right now.
Kind of like New Year's resolutions as you're talking.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes, exactly.
Like, what is it, February 13th? Like most people have dropped off.
Yes. And it always, it makes me think of, if it's morning routine or if it's waking up earlier, because a lot of times for people, this does involve waking up earlier. When the newness wears off, like you're not going to have someone cheering for you when your alarm goes off at 5:30 in the morning and saying, yeah, come on, Daniela, like you can do this. Let's get out of bed. Let's go exercise. Let's go, insert whatever it might be. So that's the first thing, getting really clear on the why behind your what. The second thing is I really like to take a baby step approach when it comes to building new habits and building new routines. So I mentioned this earlier. Before the baby steps, I do like to take a look at what someone's point Z is, what their ideal scenario is. And we backtrack using that ideal scenario to guide us. First step is going to be creating, some foundation habits. that are easily attainable. And these should feel like easy wins for you. In fact, I believe it can be things that you're actually already doing, but just now you're bringing more awareness to the fact that you're already doing these things. And my thinking behind having this foundation is then it's something we can start building upon. Go back to those analogies. You have to have a strong foundation for it to support everything you put on top of it. And just taking a very sustainable approach to working slowly but steadily toward reaching that point Z, or that ideal situation scenario, right. I guess is a better word.
And I love, again, just the similarities, like putting that intention on something you're maybe already doing, like you're already grabbing your coffee in the morning, but when you intentionally pause to take a moment, smell it, savor that first sip in the morning, that is the shift. That's the pivot right there that takes it from just another thing in your morning that you're on the fly doing to really giving it that sustenance that's going to refill you up. And that's what you build on then, is you go from pausing and smelling and sipping to now maybe intention, saying an affirmation with it, doing something, some breathing with it. And now you're starting a practice.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I love that. And the timing of you, or the timing of a conversation I had earlier today actually goes along really well with this. Someone was just sharing me how they transitioned from just making a pot of coffee in the morning to making a shot. Okay, I'm going to try to get this right. I think it was something along these lines, like making a shot of espresso, but brewing it with cinnamon and vanilla extract in it. Mm-hmm. And that just like elevating their morning cup of coffee. And now this cup of coffee that they have in the morning is this like sacred,
like a barista made,
delicious
boutique coffee.
I'm like, why haven't I thought of that?
I just even have my little whiskey thing, my little electric whisk, and it takes my creamer and it just gives it that little pop of something more.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So your book, tell us all about it. Topics, where can they find it, all that kind of great stuff.
Yes. Okay, so I'm the worst salesperson in the history of sales. I want to rewrite this book. Version 2, yes, but I am so thankful to the person that I was when I wrote this book, because I'm here now because of that. Mm-hmm. If I never written the book, the idea for, we certainly would not be connected, because just the idea for everything that has come since the book wouldn't be here. But anyway, yes, the book, it outlines, so it's called Think Happy. It outlines 5 pillars of happiness, obviously from my perspective. So those are going to be time management, getting to know your body, getting to know your heart, me time, and goal setting. And originally those were kind of what formed Think Happy Co. But as I mentioned earlier, I've niched down a bit more since then. You can find it on my website. Pro tip, if anyone has a friend who's an author, always ask them where they prefer you get their book from, because chances are you're going to pay the same amount no matter where you get it from, but the author will
you get more commission, right?
Get more if you get it directly from them. So
absolutely.
You can get it from my website.
You want to be supporting authors. You want to be supporting Kaitlin, because obviously, everything she says, these are great foundations. This is such a great place to start. They're simple, they're sustainable, they're going to get you from point A to Z. And I love everything. We could probably keep chatting on and on. And actually, I'm so excited. Next week, we're going to be recording my episode for your podcast, which is awesome. So we do get to keep talking on and on.
I know. Collaborations like this really, truly are one of my favorite parts of like getting to have a podcast. You are the 56th person that I will be interviewing for the Think Happy podcast. And the only reason I know that is I was just looking at some stats earlier today, because I was recording episode 100, which is very exciting. So you will be interview number 56, which is really cool.
No, I'm awesome. I'm so excited for that as well. So where can people find you, Kaitlin, and how can they connect with you?
Yeah. So I'm hanging out on Instagram all the time. My handle there is thinkhappy_co. And then my podcast, that's really a great place to get to know me a little bit more. It's called the Think Happy Podcast, and you can find me online at thinkhappyco.com. I'm either really great at branding or not very creative. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kaitlin, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Thanks so much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know any questions or comments that you have. Also, if you can please leave an Apple 5-star review so that this episode can be shared with more women. There's 2 quotes that I love. Alone we may be strong, but together we are stronger, as well as when women support each other, incredible things happen. So let's be stronger and incredible together, as well as maybe just have some fun along the way. Thanks so much and talk to you soon. Bye.